What we're going to be looking at today is how to apply texture with a Sharpie marker or a pen or a pencil. The first square that I'm going to be creating right now is a texture box that looks like a wooden box. So in order to create a wooden feel, I just create these really organic looking lines that are kind of random. Some of them sometimes swirl together, and some of them even just are wavy. Nothing's really straight to make them look more like a wooden block rather than just a piece of paper. Okay, so when we take a look at wood, you know that there are wood lines or wood grains. And so I'm just trying to create them as best I can. I'm also going to add some like breaks in the wood at the top and on the sides to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I'm going to start to layer some lines on top of each other to make some of the wood grains look a little bit darker. I might even add like a little crack in the wood because sometimes the wood grains do crack in that spiral center. And I'm just trying to make it look as realistic as possible. So as I continue with my marker, you'll see that my wooden box is going to look a lot more like a wooden box rather than just a box on a piece of paper. Let's take a look at how I complete this. All right, so I've completed my wooden square and now I'm going to go over to my next square and I'm going to try to create a fuzzy and hairy square. Once again, what I'm doing is I'm taking my marker and I'm just making short, quick strokes in one direction or in a multitude of directions, okay? We wanna make these, when you're making something that looks hairy or fuzzy, it is important to overlap some of your lines and keep your lines kind of consistent with one another. You can have longer lines and shorter lines. You can do just short lines or just long lines. It's really up to you how you want to create a fuzzy looking box. Now I'm gonna go to like a rocky or a bubbly texture on this next square. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make tiny circles essentially and big circles. Some of them may overlap, but this creates like a bubbly, almost rocky texture. You can also create darks and lights in here. I'm just going to create the texture just so that you can see and understand what I mean by a rocky texture. All right, now what I'm gonna do is make a wiry, scribbly, rough texture. So in order to do that, I'm literally making scribbles, okay? The scribbles are close together and they are just in this almost like circular way, but then they also overlap each other. I'm not leaving large spaces of white blank space because I'm filling up my entire square with just scribbles. All right, so the next square that I'm going to be working on is a scaly texture. This one's super easy. It's just making almost like a upside down kind of diagonal U shape all next to each other and they're all touching each other. Obviously, you can add lights and darks and you can do yours a lot more neater than Miss Parlow. So take your time when you're doing a scaly or a rougher texture like on a fish or on a reptile, but this is how you do it. Okay, so for my next texture is I'm going to try to make a shiny texture, making it look more like metal or something that is reflecting light. So In order to do this, you can do this in a lot of ways, but what I like to do is I like to make short, quick strokes that are all kind of the same length and going down in one direction, okay? And I'm going to continue to fill that in and kind of scribble over each of these just to make some highlights. I leave the highlight areas white, and then I do the darker areas that are not really projecting light as like essentially short, quick lines of scribbles. So let's take a look at how I complete this.